All right, welcome to the Brew Crew Scoop. We got no scoop. We have I was gonna call you Dr. Gubbs, but we have Ryan, and then obviously myself, per usual. So we'll quick go through, I guess, what the crew's been up to. Obviously, if you're listening, you probably had an eye on this last series, and if you did, you're probably pretty happy. So, since we last talked, we had one last game with the Mets. Quintana had a nice start there, but we were not able to win. Um, and then we kicked off a series with the Marlins. Won first game on Friday. Saturday we lost, even though Chad Patrick had a decent outing, and that was his last outing for a bit on the big league team. Sunday we saw the return of Mr. Brandon Woodruff. I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about that. And Jackson Churio had 3 RBI in that game, so he carried us along with Big Woo to a 3-1 victory there. Um, and then we kicked off a series with the Dodgers on Monday. I was able to go to the first 2 games of the series, not today's, but the Monday game, I was a little concerned going in with Yamamoto on the mound. Obviously, ended up not being something to be worried about. He only went point 0.2 innings, while another all-star pitcher in Freddy Peralta went 6 scoreless. And Andrew Vaughn introduced himself to the city of Milwaukee. Tuesday, Miz gave up a home run to Shohei to start the game, but that was the only blip really that happened. After that, he had 12 strikeouts and was able to go 6 innings. And we won that game 3-1. And I'm sure you noticed or saw on social media, but the average fastball in that game across all of our pitchers was 99, between Miz, Koenig, Uribe, and Megill. So pretty crazy, when you consider, I don't know, the reach, I guess, the Brewers, at least starting staff or Miz himself, is getting across baseball right now. Um, and then today, the game ended in a walk-off after a clutch Andrew Vaughn pinch hit in the ninth to score a run, and then Jackson Churio's first career walk-off, I believe, in the 10th after Megill slammed the door in the top of 10. So the crew is flying high right now, going into that last series against the Nationals before the All-Star break. And then once the All-Star break's over, we get the Dodgers again. So hopefully we can stay hot against them too. But yeah, I'm sure, I know you were talking mostly about the Woodruff start, not mostly, but a lot of the chat excitement this weekend was over the Woodruff start. And I actually wasn't able to watch the first bit of that. So I don't know if you just want to chime in there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a secret that Woodruff is really a fan favorite of this, I guess specifically this podcast, but Brewers fans alike. So I think really just good to see him back out on the mound, no matter what the result was, and even icing on the cake to see the really just looking like his dominant self right off the bat. I don't necessarily think that Bruce fans should expect that every time out from him. I think the adrenaline was up and going, and it was maybe an inferior Marlins lineup, but I mean, no matter what happens with the rest of the season, I think Bruce fans and even Brandon Woodruff himself would say that being out there and seeing him on the mound and taking the ball for the crew, if nothing else, was a really awesome day for fans and definitely him.
Yeah, and it's obviously not a great Marlins staff, but or lineup, but they really don't strike out a ton as a group. So those 8Ks are impressive. I know it sounded like on the radio he was maybe getting a little help, but maybe a veteran coming off a 2-year injury should get a little help. But either way, he made the most of it.
The stuff looks sharp. I mean,
Yeah,
that he was
I know his
commanding the
velo was pretty
ball.
decent when he wanted it to
Velo,
be too. I know he
Velo
touched
was up.
96
He touched 96.
when he had to.
I mean, even sitting 92 to 96, based on what we had heard throughout the rehab process, is I think on the higher end of what we were expecting out of him. And I mean, the stuff played. It's the arsenal's a little bit different, I think, than it was prior to his injury. It sounds like he's kind of morphed his slider into a sweeper now, and even added a little bit of a cutter in there, at least during the rehab process. I don't know exactly if his usage was up on that in the first start, but I mean, he's shown the ability to kind of pitch at the major league level. He knows what he needs to do to get it done. Maybe that looks a little bit different post injury. But obviously the first start very, very encouraging from him and if nothing else, a really awesome story for fans.
Yeah, yeah, like you said, not something to expect every outing, I wouldn't say, but it's better than I think we were all hoping or expecting, and we knew Brewers fans would be happy kind of regardless, just because, like you said, he's been here for, I mean, he pretty much the longest on this team, and we love that guy. So, and he means a lot to the young staff as well, I think. Like the success the staff has had in the last, even the time he's been out, I think some of that's attributed to him as well. So, I saw it Monday. We got an ovation at the stadium, and um, it definitely was an ovation. The crowd was loud. It was like over 35,000, and they were packed in. And obviously, it's not like they were just there to clap for Big Woo, but um, they definitely did. So good to see, and it definitely helps this rotation continue to fill out almost too full, I guess, if that can be a thing, which normally people say it can't be, but it is starting to look like we might have to make some decisions there, and already have with Chad Patrick getting sent down after. I mean, he still has a sub 4 ERA, I think, so can't really complain about that, but it is what it is, and he has options, and there you go. But yeah, otherwise the Dodgers series I think would be the big thing to talk about. I think all smiles in Milwaukee after that, and kind of stole some of the national spotlight a couple of these games, including even today because it was a walk off and we were facing Tyler Glasnow, came back off IL, and obviously that's a big name in the sport. But Monday, two All-Star pitchers facing off, and we got the best of Yamamoto. Um, I mean, yeah, I think it was the shortest outing in the MLB. And Freddy Peralta out-dueled him, which is good because I mean, even I was listening to like Brew, and they had some really good points this week, but they were kind of saying that like part of why Freddie was an all-star is because every team like has to have one, but like his stats are good enough to just be a starter in the all-star team. It's not like yes, if we had three other all-stars, I don't know if they would have given it to him, but he definitely has the numbers. I think he's tied for wins. His ERA is sub 3. He still strikes guys out. So, yeah, he's not Paul Skeens, but he's been a really productive pitcher this year. The only complaint is the common complaint, I think, and it's like his depth in games. But Murph loves to use the bullpen anyway, so where he's letting him.
Yeah, definitely deserving of the All-Star nod. I mean, he's been really that guy as much kind of movement as there's been in that rotation, despite it being an effective rotation throughout the first half of the season so far. I think he's really been that continuity guy. I guess yeah, the complaint with him, obviously, as it has been over the career, is how deep can you get into games and can you stay out of those deep counts? But I mean, even in the last couple of starts, he's gone 6 innings, quality starts, and really been kind of that horse that we've needed this year. Some continuity and some stability in that rotation. And I think they just announced Trevor Megill just after the
Yep.
game.
Which
Another
he
all-star.
looked like an
So
all-star today, so um, awesome to see for him as well. And it kind of sucks for Uribe because he's been just as good, but one of them has the most holds in the NL, but the other one still gets all the saves. What's McGill at like 20? I know he's over 20, so um,
well,
and a win
Uribe is in
today.
line. I think if the trend continues as it has now with McGill, it's like the last what 6, 7 closers. Um, for the Brewers have made an All-Star appearance as a member of the Brewers. So if Uribe sticks around long enough, I think reasonable to think that he might be the next one to step into that role.
Yeah, that all-star nod might come up in the arbiter. I think McGill is he even in Arb yet? Probably not. Maybe.
I think he is.
Maybe. Yeah. So that'll come up in Arb. Um, and yeah, Monday, Andrew Vaughn got it done, I guess. I know he was like a kind of a waiver guy, obviously at a time very high prospect in the sport. I think third overall pick. Um, and obviously, as I just talked about, we have a surplus of starters, and he serves us better than Savali, even if he was just serving us in AAA and having another year. of arb and control next year if he chose to keep him. But that wrist injury on the tag that Hoskins made over the weekend kind of forced Vaughn into the lineup, and he has been getting it done in all 3 games. So uh, not gonna expect him to be this productive, but he's already been worth it. So
Yeah.
uh, gotta work on the
Uh,
hair a little bit, I think. But
yeah, there was mention of the hair. I think as long as he's producing as he has in the first series, he can do whatever he wants with that
yeah.
hair. Um, yeah, I mean, what a way to burst onto the scene, right? I
Hmm.
guess if there's a way to make an impression with your manager and your teammates, it's to just go out there and do the work. Um, and you never know really how a change of scenery really
Oh, I
what
was
can
I was gonna bring that up because I know
but
you're a big
I'm not
believer in
gonna
the change of scenery from the
I'm
south
not
side of Chicago.
I'm not gonna say that maybe the White Sox is the best organization to be sporting that jersey, but I mean in any case a change of scenery can be good, but especially when you're coming from a maybe bottom of the league dweller to a contender, which
Hmm.
as of right now it sure looks the part. So yeah, nice to see him contribute right off the bat, and his initial home run even brought up an interesting stat that I found funny, a funny callback. But first Brewer to homer in his first at bat since I believe Gabe Gross. Um, so just a
Couple,
name Brewers
couple,
lore for sure there with
yeah.
that one. 2006 Gabe Gross first at bat in April, I believe.
I
So.
definitely wouldn't have guessed that one.
That's a fun one for podcast for some of our podcast listeners. If you remember Gabe Gross, shout out to
Coach
him.
Keen will have a smile somewhere. He likes to just talk about the most random Brewers. Tuesday's game. If there's any way to show up 2 All-Stars matching up on the bump, it's the new hot thing in the game against the fresh 3000K um, earner, I guess, and Clayton Kershaw. And Kershaw, I know you pointed out he learned who Miz was throughout the game, I think, in his own words after the game. And I don't know, I didn't really take him as being like salty or anything. I think he literally just does his own thing and didn't know a ton about him and probably is sick of hearing about guys that pump 100 over and over, especially at this point in Kershaw's career. Um, and I mean, as a baseball fan, I've loved watching Clayton Kershaw. Like his stats somehow continually getting better until just a few years ago when his arm started really getting to him, or I think he had a back thing too, but either way. Um, but yeah, Miz obviously ended up out shoving with those 12 strikeouts, and I was at that game, and obviously after the Shohei start, but after the home run there, it did seem like every at bat was a strikeout, and it was kind of crazy. And I was with a couple of people from out of town that don't follow the Brewers all that closely, and they were like, "Oh, what? Why is everyone clapping?" I was like, "Well, he's just like mowing through the lineup." And then I think even Megill got some claps at the end because I don't know if he struck out the side in that game, but he was also pitching very well. But um, yeah, just really cool back-to-back games to be able to go to as a fan because again, it's kind of I don't want to say 4 historic pitchers, I guess, but in Brewers lore, at least Freddy's historic. Yamamoto is, I mean, what he earned like the largest pitcher contract, and then we got a future Hall of Famer and maybe another future Hall of Famer. Might be early on that, but that was a really cool game
Whoa,
too.
is that a hot take
It
coming out of
would
Cole's
be
mouth there?
it's we got a long ways to go, but I will say like lots of the big like national baseball media is like literally throwing his name in the Skeens conversation already, which is crazy. And he's still got to prove he's not gonna uh throw it right down the pipe or have walk troubles like he did in his start against the Mets, but um I don't know. I'm not gonna complain right now. He looks pretty good if you ask me.
Yeah. I mean, you can't really ask for a more fun 2 games to watch as a fan. I think as I was watching that TBS broadcast Tuesday, Misiorowski Kershaw the matchup and kind of just the energy you could feel in the building. I think Keane was the one that said um, he felt like his heart rate was up there with like playoff game level, which I think kind of matched the energy of a lot of Brewers fans, just in the sense that like you feel something behind this guy Misiorowski, and seeing him match up again against one of the game's greats was a really cool thing. It's one of those that you expect to see almost in a rerun on MLB Network
Yeah.
sometime in the future, and definitely wouldn't be shocked to see that at some
Hmm.
point. But
And
really
playing the
cool.
playing the Dodgers, you kind of forget like I don't know how if every Dodgers fan there is the biggest Dodgers fan in the world, but you forget how many Dodgers fans there are. Like there was a lot of Dodgers fans both games I was at, and that kind of gave it a different atmosphere too. Because lots of the time, if you're playing like the National Series coming up, I'm not expecting to see a whole lot of Nationals jerseys, but when you play the Dodgers, it's a different experience.
Yeah, they kind of bring that brand with them. I'll also make a point to shout out my favorite moment from the game, which was when they brought Pat Murphy on for his in-game interview.
I heard about this.
Andrew Monasterio up at the plate, flies one to left just short of the wall, and they catch Murph on the hot mic going, get out, shit,"
Yeah.
which was a funny and really, I think, organic view of Pat Murphy to the national crowd, which was a cool thing.
Mhm.
But gotta love Murph.
Mona, he might not have the power, but the summer of Sal continued with the shot he had in
Yeah.
Tuesday's game. And then yeah, today walk off. I actually wasn't able to watch till like the last two innings, and that's all I had to see. So lucky me. I was listening actually, so it seemed like Quintana pitched pretty well and didn't get some help in the inning he struggled in against Shohei in the bottom of the lineup there, and he walked in that run, but could be a lot worse against that Dodgers lineup. So again, not complaining. And then yeah, Andrew Vaughn, nice little dink to send it to extras, and then Jackson. I guess his other big home runs have been in like the top of nine or bottom eight or something like that because I didn't know it was his first walk off. So cool scenario to do it against the Dodgers, and I think I saw it's like the first time the Brewers have ever swept the Dodgers at home or something like that. So definitely a great start of the week.
Yeah, I mean 53 and 40 heading into the last series before the break, which this week I think in Brewers history notoriously has been some poor baseball from the lads. So I think to walk away from that Dodgers series with three games and looking up just a game and a half below the Cubs now after their loss, you're feeling pretty good about where you're at, especially after. I mean, looking at a month ago and kind of even the conversations we've had on this pod, I mean, we didn't know that we were going to be here, but
Yeah.
I think weathered the storm with this kind of tougher schedule over the last 6 weeks or so, and um, feeling pretty good. I think the even the national talk about the Brewers, I think has really changed over the last even week, um, and it's really trending in a good direction to be a really fun end of summer and hopefully fall for the crew.
Yeah, it definitely has. I feel like now all of a sudden it's all um, classic Brewers, or of course the Brewers are rolling, blah 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 talk. So yeah, definitely some good times. I'm gonna hop right into the hot hitter of the week,
Oh, stop dropping on fire, Ricky Bobby! I'm on fire! He's so hot right now.
and I'm just gonna give it to Andrew Vaughn. Jackson Trio had himself an argument for sure. And honestly, Caleb Durbin was hot just with some small ball and singles and walks. But Andrew Vaughn, welcome to the crew. Three hits, one of which was a home run, two runs, five RBI, two walks. Um, yeah, limited sample size so far, but if he can just give us half of that, 1.6 OPS, we'll be way more than happy. So I'm giving it to Andrew Vaughn for hot hitter and for untouchable pitcher.
You fellas are untouchable. Is that the thing? No one can get to you?
Definitely a lot of guys with an argument. The back part of the pen between Megill, Uribe, Koenig, and Grant Anderson all had not given up a run since we last talked prior to that last game of the Mets series. So can't really decipher between all those guys, but obviously Megill and Uribe rack up those K numbers. But I'm gonna give it to a god. Well, I mean, Misiorowski did give up a run. I'll give it to Freddy Peralta. 6 innings, zero earned. Kind of had to set the tone for that series. gave up one walk, 5 hits, but got 7 Ks. And like we said, that 6 inning thing is big. But obviously, Miz and Wu both only gave up 1 run and both had more strikeouts and both are huge names. But I love being able to pick between those three guys as the untouchable pitcher because you got that three-headed monster. If Woodruff is at least close to this, yeah, this team is something to be afraid of. So I don't know if you had anything to touch on with those guys or if you really didn't like my picks, but
Personally, I would have given it to Woodruff just as a welcome back in a similar vein as the welcome to Milwaukee that you gave Andrew Vaughn. But I mean, tipping the cap to the All-Star as well. He definitely deserves his kudos.
yeah, in a alternate universe where we were doing this podcast for like the last 6 years, Big Woo has so many untouchable pitchers. I mean, Freddy probably does too, but um, yeah, I'm giving it to Fred, the All-Star, going into All-Star weekend. All right.
Woody will get his chances hopefully as we get down the stretch here.
Yeah, untouchable pitcher for World Series week.
Oh, the hot
I'm
takes are
just being
flying.
overly
The
optimistic.
hot takes are flying in from this guy today.
All right, I will hop into around the farm.
If it hadn't been for those meddling kids. If it hadn't been for you meddling kids.
Ah, meddling kids. If it hadn't been for these meddling laddies.
Looks like Nashville is mashing this week. A lot of names, I guess, that are familiar to people in Milwaukee. Some former teammates of Andrew Vaughn. Actually, he might have been sent down for Bobby Delbeck to be called up before the White Sox TFA'd him, but he had a over 900 OPS, as did fan favorite Ernesto Martinez Jr., and he'd kind of cooled off a while since that hot start, so it's good to see him back. Oliver Dunn, any other major league teams out there looking for a third baseman that can really rack up AAA stats? Oliver Dunn had a great week. Jorge Alfaro also had a good week, which I wouldn't be surprised maybe if there's some movement with him, maybe a swap of him and Haas if Haas keeps struggling at the plate, but they're not really letting Haas play anyways. And I think we both wish they probably would let him play a little bit more to let Wilson, very different guy than William Contreras, get some health back. But he one dotted in 4 games in the last week. Freddy Zamora, who I think was a guy earlier in the year I thought maybe they'd call upon, but well, I was gonna say Joey Ortiz figured out, but it doesn't seem like Pat Murphy agrees because he got benched 2 games in a row for swing choices. So maybe you still will get to see Freddy Zamora, and if you do, he at least was hot last week. And then Jared Oliva, I believe is how you pronounce it. Had a 1.527 OPS, 9 hits in 6 games, for 12 runs, which is kind of crazy. So, Nashville is getting it done, and on the bump, they had a bunch of guys humming as well. I'll shout out Tobias Myers. Kind of tough to pick from the group, but he went 6 shutouts, so he is maybe back to what we once saw out of him last year, which would be good timing, but I'm not sure we need him at this exact moment. But I'm sure there's a time this year where we'll probably call upon his name again. So shout him out. And then since I'll talk about Elvin Rodriguez getting DFA'd, I'll shout out his 0 earned runs and 1.2, just because I will not probably be saying his name again. In Biloxi, I'm gonna let's shout out Cooper Pratt. Only have 2 games here, but in those 7 at-bats, he had a triple and a single for a run and 2 walks. So again, a guy you'd love to see perform. And I don't know, I'm not giving up on Joey Cheese at all in this system, but it's very promising to have a guy like Cooper Pratt doing what he's doing in Double A this year. And then on the bump, let's shout out Nick Merkel came back and he had a scoreless inning. So that's good to see. Justin Yeager also had a nice outing. So there's a lot of relievers that were getting it done, as well as Tyson Harden, who recently got promoted there, also had a nice 2 earned over 5.2, 6K. So good to see that. In Appleton, I don't really have a ton in Appleton. I never can say Hadhair Aranamo. I know it's a name I've seen a lot from looking in the org. He's shortstop currently there. He had a 1.1 OPS, 12 hits over 6 games. So love to see that. And on the bump, they had one, two, three, six guys not give up any runs in their outings in the last week. Um, all relievers, but love to see that. Getting it done. And then did want to shout out Braylon Payne down in Carolina. He, in his 10 at bats in the last week, had 4 walks, 2 home runs, 5 hits for a 1.743 OPS. He's a guy Brewers fans I think are going to love to hear having success in the minors, being that top pick last year. So, guy to keep an eye on for sure. And then have to shout out Jaden Fielder. He in only 2 games, but 2 RBI, 2 hit, 3 walks. Gotta bring him up every time he can, for obvious reasons. And I will stop there. I did take some notes on the Dominican Summer League, but for lack of me being able to properly shout these guys out, I will say they're mashing in the DSL for the crew. So um, good to see in that sense, but I'll wait for those guys maybe to get a little higher in the org before I try to learn all those names. Um, but yeah, that's where I'm at on the farm roster moves. As I said, Elvin got DFA'd for Stuart Baroa, who was actually in the Dodgers org. He's an outfielder. I don't know if he's necessarily going to be playing at the big league level, but he is a bit of a burner. He has a lot of career steals in the minors, so maybe we're already setting up for some September and playoff type moves
Yep.
for
He'll
base
be
runners.
the last man on the roster for the World Series pinch runner.
Exactly. And then I know Blake Perkins was with the team. Um, Obviously, he was coming back from an injury. I think he just kind of tweaked like a groin or something, but it seems like he'll be resuming his rehab, which I think is welcomed. As much as I don't know exactly how they'll do it, um, I think Churio's still a little shaky out in center. At the end of a game, I obviously want to keep his bat in the lineup, but if you had told me I could have Sal, Isaac Collins in left, and then in center I could have Perkins, I'd feel pretty good about that outfield. So good to see. And then I guess her scoop, he wants to talk about some talk that I don't think is real personally, because the Red Sox are kind of rolling again. But in honor of one scoop, he says his proposal for Alex Bregman to the Boston Red Sox is Chad Patrick, Tobias Myers, Tyler Black, and Ernesto Martinez Jr. for Alex Bregman. And I'm not gonna lie, I think that would probably do it. I mean, it's a half year of Bregman, but that's only if they want to sell him, and I don't think they want to sell him because they're starting to win, and their fan base, I don't know. Maybe I'm out of touch, but I don't think they want to give up another stud, especially one that hasn't been an asshole to their team.
Yeah.
So, and Breggy should be back from injury real soon, prior to the deadline. So I guess they'll have some time to see how the team's trending, but don't see that happening. As a Brewers fan, it would be tough because I mean, realistically, it's just for this year, Bregman. He's probably going to opt out and probably going to get more than we'd pay him. But none of those guys we'd be giving up is anyone I feel like is, make or break future of the franchise. Ernesto Martinez is a older prospect for sure. Tyler Black just doesn't seem to fit in here. He's a guy I brought up a million times on this podcast, as a guy I like his approach at the plate, but I just don't see him working here because we don't seem to like him anywhere in the field. I think Tobias Myers still has a pretty strong career ahead of him, but I don't think he's going to be an ace necessarily. And Chad Patrick, I think he's got to work on some secondary stuff, but maybe this year even we see him in a relief role if we have to, because all that fastball, or fast at least pitches between cutter, fastball, so on and so forth, might play really well in like a pen role, and he can pump some velocity. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't hate it. I don't know. What do you think?
Uh, wouldn't hate having Bregman. I mean, it's kind of along the same veins of when you're thinking about past Brewers trades, what a potential CC Sabathia type impact that you're hoping for with him. You get that half a season, and obviously very likely to opt out of it at that point. Um, I'm also with you in the sense that I don't see this really being a real thing for the Red Sox. I think there's more smoke and mirrors to this than real truth to it. But I think if you're looking for an impact bat, that would be the one. Um, doesn't seem like something that really this current Brewers front office has really taken that big swing to do. Would not expect them to go out and do it for a guy that's due whatever
Yeah, 40
prorated
something.
$40 million
20, yeah.
salary for the rest of the season. But a fun little think tank. I do think that, yeah, I think as a Red Sox fan, if they ended up being completely out of it, I still wouldn't want to be dealing Bregman. I don't think that that says good things to future free agents for them. But as a Brewers fan, Bregman in a Brewers uniform definitely wouldn't be the worst thing. So
Yeah. I guess you haven't been on any other deadline talk. I've talked a lot about moving a starter, which the closer Nestor gets back, it seems even more likely. And I think we already could. Whether it's one of these young guys like a Patrick, a Henderson, a Myers, or a Quintana, or a Nestor when he gets back. I don't know. I know there was talk of like, oh, maybe the Brewers will trade Freddy Peralta, a controllable top arm, but we're not doing that. But
yeah, I think they've kind of walked back that talk just based on the play on the field. I think you're less worried about a guy like Freddy, who's your kind of top of the line guy being dealt now. But I mean, I think to some degree it does make sense to deal a Quintana, who's probably not one of your top three going in a potential playoff series anyways. And maybe hoping that one of these other playoff vying teams has a utility bat, corner power bat that maybe they're willing to part with. Probably makes it a little bit more of a difficult way to go about finding a trade partner. I think it's about as likely that the Brewers end up dealing one of those guys just to kind of beef up the farm system and then go a different direction to find a bat. And that's the hope, I think, at least for me, because I do think there's enough pitching there to get you through the season. Like you said, if Nestor's getting close, Woodruff back now, I mean, it makes sense. And while we're firing on all cylinders now, I think there's definitely room for a bat that has a little bit of pop. I think it was Mark DeRosa on MLB Network that basically pleaded to the Brewers ownership to say let's make a play here. Let's see what this team's got. They're fighting for you, and I think it's about time that we come around and make a move. So even the talking heads out there are hoping for a move at the deadline from the crew, and I think it would be cool to see. But as I would caution fans to temper that expectation, as I think this front office is definitely future oriented and worried about making sure that they're in a good spot for not just now but years down the line.
yeah, I don't know even if this injury, like Hoskins is apparently out 6+ weeks. I don't know if that maybe a corner, either corner, a guy that can do both. I don't. There's not too many of those available though. I don't. Maybe a Suarez. I mean, Ryan McMahon has always been rumored, but he has a decent amount of money left, so I don't even know if we'd want to be on the hook for 16 whatever million next year with him. Yohan Moncada, maybe him and Vaughn are gonna turn over this new leaf together, but there's not like too many obvious fits anyways. I'm sure we'll find something and give it a shot, but Durbin's actually been playing pretty well. It doesn't seem like there's a really obvious shortstop plug, so I don't know. It's just weird. Like normally I feel like it's easy to add an outfielder, but that's the one thing we don't need. So I don't know. I'm sure we'll listen on first, third, short and see.
Yeah, I think if you're keeping your eyes and ears out for whatever's out there, I think it'd be interesting to hear what the Diamondbacks are willing to part with if they're looking to be sellers. I think Suarez at third. I don't think that Durbin, while I do have enjoyed him playing well recently and swing a little bit of a hotter bat. I don't think he's a guy that prevents you from going out and getting an extra
Yeah. It's just a
power,
matter of
especially.
the caliber of guys out there. I guess Suarez,
Yeah.
but as much as Durbin, people don't love his arm. He plays a pretty solid third, definitely better
Yep.
than Suarez. So I don't know,
Yeah.
but could be worse. We'll see what happens. Again, they'll do something. I'm not holding my breath that it's Alex Bregman, but Alex Saunders can wish. Oh, I doxed him. That's his name. I think he said that. All right, we'll power through some other stuff before we get cut off here. I wanted to shout out Lake Bacher on the Marlins. Got the save for the Crew, former Whitewater kicker and then baseball player, and now Marlins pitcher, age 30, gets his first career save. You got a beer of the week?
I'll have a Brutski, Charlie.
You have a beer with dinner when you're out with the fellas?
I did not.
Yeah, that's all right. I'm
No
having
beer.
a 45 cal Sprecher root beer, so
There you
that
go.
could be an
Beer of the
honorable
week.
mention.
Beer of the week,
No,
45 cal
actually,
Sprecher root
I
beer.
will. I'll save my other one. I'll keep it on lock. I'm going with these are actually they're like just as good as the heavies, the Sprecher heavies. Uh, Good stuff. Nice little treat. DJ LeMahieu got DFA. Thought that was funny, and the Yankees are going to pay him $20 million to not play on their team. I think next year. I was thinking about him, but like I'd rather have Durbin play third than him, and I mean,
He
first,
already
maybe
said that
first.
part of the reason that he was DFA'd is that his
Yeah,
body
he was.
can't handle the
Oh,
load at third base. So
well, maybe he can handle the load at first
Guardino,
base.
the second, who I feel we have
Yeah,
locked
he's not
down.
playing second. Former Brewer Dallas Keuchel signed a deal with the Royals, and I was a little disappointed because Zach Greinke obviously just doesn't want to play, but he's still out there, and I wanted him to hit 3K so bad. I love Zach Greinke. He is a one of a kind baseball personality.
That is true.
He's the
That
man.
we can say with confidence.
Talk about
Bruce
a big deal though. When the Brewers
Wayne.
fucking went and got Zach Greinke, that was electric as a fan. We haven't had one of those in a while, and we've talked about that a number of times on the
We'll say
podcast. But
Doug Melvin really wasn't afraid to pull the trigger
yeah, sometimes he should
on a
have been.
big
That's the
deal.
problem.
They didn't always pan out in the
But when
ways,
they did,
but he definitely hit on quite a few, including some that really altered the trajectory
yep.
of Brewers history. So shout out to Doug Melvin.
Yeah, well, didn't see that coming today, but I agree. Um, we got like 2 minutes left. You got any final thoughts? I think I got one, I guess.
No, but in the 2 minutes that we've discussed since the beer of the week, I did think of one.
Oh, yeah. I've been known to drink a beer or two.
In honor of my um, often summer vacation spot, Door County, Wisconsin. Nice brewery up there, Oak Barrel Brewing. Make a wonderful up north lager. Smooth, classic tasting lager. But really captures the essence of an up north summer up in the north woods of Wisconsin. So
I was actually gonna ask about Sierra Nevada, but now I don't want to spend my last minute and a half talking about that. But I don't know even like what's their big beer. You know what I
I
mean?
was there and I couldn't even tell you.
But
The
you said
big
it was
beers aren't
cool.
what you go for the
Yeah, that's
brewery.
true. That's true.
It's for the not big beers.
I was gonna say I saw Craig Counsell had a little interview where he discussed he hasn't got to manage a bullpen like the Cubs bullpen or something like that, which I think you just mentioned how whatever six straight closers have been all stars. So I don't want to hear it out of Craig. Just want to bring that up.
Well, he's rooting for his hometown Cubs now,
Yeah.
so he really hasn't been able to manage a bullpen for his true favorite team till now.
Yeah. Well, I know we both wanted to go to the game Saturday for the giveaway alone, the '90s throwback, but it also looks to be Woodruff's home return. So
Yep.
we'll be at a concert, but
Yep.
you know, be
Folks,
there.
get out there and show out for Brandon Woodruff. He deserves it. It'll be a good game, fun giveaway. That classic '90s logo is slept on, so should be a good one.
Yep. And we're headed to the All-Star break, so we probably won't talk to you until at least after that. We'll see. Scoop's a busy boy. See if he made it this far to hear that one. But Ryan, thanks for subbing.
Always
All
fun. Go
right.
Brewers.
Go Brewers.